Your next paper will be a reflection on the community that you belong to. Essentially, it will be about the experience of belonging. By now, you should have a pretty solid idea of what works for these essays. For one, I want you to focus on a single experience when you felt like you belonged to a community of people. Use all the tools we've talked about so far: sensory language, snapshots, thought shots, exploding a moment, dialogue, inventing the truth. You may find that the memory map activity we did as part of the preparation for your childhood reflection would be helpful for you as you work on drafting this paper. The music for Uptown Funk creates a beautiful sense of community without ever once saying, "Look at this community." It's a great example to look at for inspiration. You know the drill. Basic requirements: 2 pages, 12-point font, always use a title, and it's due on Sunday. Let's take a minute and talk about what I mean when I say community. I use the very simple definition in which community is simply a group of people who have something in common, whether it's their commitment to evil or their love of cosplay. Here are some examples of local communities: dance clubs, athletic teams, religious groups, book clubs, Boy Scouts, musical groups, tribes. There's a picture of a parade here in Pokey and of the groundbreaking event for the LDS Temple and of the Shoban Powwow. There are lots of options. If you need some help with categories, here are a bunch, ranging from very small and specific to much bigger. You can go by activities, hobbies, and interests, team groups, musical groups, theater groups, clubs and organization, geographical locations such as your neighborhood, a cultural or ethnic group, a religious community, a family community, communities related to your sexuality or gender, online communities, political communities, class or people from similar financial backgrounds, or school communities. You can write about communities as specific as your family or just the people who are on your dormitory hall. I've had students write about their experience being part of the American community. There are lots of options. Don't forget, I've provided all my papers I've written with my students over the years in our course documents. Sometimes looking at an example can be helpful, and don't forget we have student examples as well. Let's look at one of my examples. This is a piece titled Troop 427. "I've got one," a girl's voice screamed. I whipped my head around to see who the lucky girl was. It was Lindsay. She held a fist-sized stone up to the light, and yes, indeed, there was a hole that went right through it. It was a friendship rock. Who would be given the privilege to be singled out and given the rock as a tribute of friendship? It wasn't me, but I didn't mind. I was knee-deep in murky Kansas Creek water. My Girl Scout troop number 427 was creeking, which is like hiking, but instead of following a trail, we followed a creek, wading. Whoops. Here we go. Lisa had emerged from the foresty shadows into a pool of light. She was holding her hands above her head as she waded into water that reached her armpits. She was trying to get to the other side of the rocky creek side to search for more friendship rocks. Meanwhile, I worked my way to the shin-deep water, my eyes scanning the shore for snakes. I tried to divine the water's depths for fish, turtles, and leeches. Earlier, Kristen had come crashing out of a mud pit with 7 or 8 leeches stuck to her leg, and I didn't want to have an encounter of my own. "I got one!" Jamie squealed from her little patch of gravel on the shore. She gave her friendship rock to Amy, who was hunched over the ground, examining the spot where Jamie had just discovered the most recent find. "Me too!" Lisa shouted from her side of the creek. Her bravery of wading into deeper water had paid off, and after she recrossed the creek, she gave her rock to Lindsay. Walking against the current, we were jerky marionettes, fumbling and teetering back and forth. I lost my footing and grabbed onto Holly, and we both crashed into the water with a muddy splash. Holly's blonde hair was streaked with mud as I helped her back up. Sorry, I said sheepishly. She laughed. I wore this ugly shirt today hoping that it would be destroyed and Mom wouldn't make me wear it anymore. Thanks for the help. Behind me, I heard Kristen murmur to Lisa, Look at this tiny one I found. Lisa exclaimed, It is so cute. It will be hard not to lose it. Kristen then handed it to Lisa, who carefully slid it into the tiny square pocket at the top of her Levi jeans. So, which one of those messy little kids do you think is me? Hint, my eyes are closed. Some things to notice about my example are that I named many characters and gave them each something to do. I had to communicate a lot in just a few words because I wanted to create the effect of lots of girls running around. You can do this by not worrying about introducing each character and instead just dropping us in the moment. Think in medias res. Your audience will generally be able to pick up on who everyone is. I hope this example was helpful. If you look at the pacing schedule for this week, I wanted to urge you to make time to read Graduation by Maya Angelou. This example really clearly illustrates the experience of suddenly realizing you belong, and it makes a great model to aspire to. Students think it's kind of long, so plan for that. As always, all course activities are designed to help you improve your writing and complete the coursework. Look, it's a community of Hide the Pain Heralds. If he can find his community, I'm sure you can too. Happy writing.